Okay. So today I want to talk about SQL basics, and I hope that you have set up DuckDB on your computer. We're gonna do that one more time in class today, just so you make sure that you have the environment set up, and you need to practice. We might have a quiz on Friday. So today I'm gonna cover the basic how you can filter the data. It's very much similar to when you're using desktop GIS. You open some vector data, you're trying to get a subset, you're trying to do some filtering, or you're trying to do some spatial zone, something like that. But right now it's basically doing coding, so you can basically do things programmatically. When we go through all the steps, keep it in mind, in the past, when you're doing that using desktop GIS, manually, how do you do that? And this one, you can do it programmatically, and it's so much faster. Imagine you have like 10 million records. You're trying to filter out and then to get something. This one can be done in seconds. If you're doing desktop GIS, good luck. You might not even be able to open it because it's going to take a lot of memory. So if the file is like 10 gigabyte, usually you need a lot of memory, like several times of the file size to be able to handle that. This one, you can handle like many times larger than your computer memory. It's so much powerful, more powerful, and it's very fast. So when it goes to that, right now you probably had like, okay, why are you doing this? Why don't we just open the file and then select it? That's not the point. Okay, so it's very cool when you're doing with large data set, and I have experiences that is like hundreds, sometimes even hundreds times faster. So and SQL basics. So what we're gonna cover here is not only applicable to DuckDB, it's applicable pretty much to all the database. So these are more like very common statements. You can think about this as a language. But the example I'm going to show you here, although it's like we are dealing with DuckDB database, but you can do the same thing. So if you're learning PostgreSQL, MySQL, or Microsoft SQL Server, it's pretty much the same thing. So what you're learning here is can be easily transferable to other database engines. So again, I'm gonna do it one more time, like show you how to get started. So if you find online, like find some examples, how to actually copy and then run the code on my local computer. Okay, because similar to Google Search Engine that we have covered, you're always going to find some example and then copy paste, right? So now it's probably already familiar, right? How to do that using Google Search Engine. But when you're doing DuckDB, it's a similar workflow. And so for DuckDB, there are two ways you can run your code. The first way using a command line program called CLI. I'm going to show you the website one more time, just to let you know the differences between those, right? So if I click install, here we have the command line. So the command line means it's already compiled. It's a so-called executable. So all you need is to download the executable, unzip, and then put it on your computer. Then you should be able to run it. They also have the so-called bindings. Basically, you can think about like API. They actually connect to, basically under the hood is also using a executable, and it's calling the executable to not necessarily calling the executable, may not be, but the Python API allows you to use in many of those programming languages. So basically you can write Python code and then you can execute stuff and then return the result. So that makes it easy for you to integrate into your workflow. The command line program, basically you get the data, you print it out, or you can save some data, that's it. It's not very convenient if you want to integrate into your workflow. But for Python here, you can just run it in a Jupyter notebook. So this is essentially what I'm going to go through today. For today, we are going to basically use the command line program. On Friday, when if we finish the command line, then we cover the Python. So basically, you can use either way. Either one is fine. But usually for me, I think Python is easier because you can integrate with other packages. The result can be passed into other program. Because DuckDB is the so-called in-process database. That means there is no server. It's everything is already in the same process in the memory. So you can just put the data in, get the data out. Very convenient. So no, I use both. So what I'm going to show you today is that we actually you can use both. But today we primarily use command line. But in the next couple lectures, sometimes we use the Python program API. Sometimes we use the command line. Yes. Okay. So next, let's go through that one more time, right? So again, you download this one to computer, and then just put this one into your C drive Windows. In that way, you don't need to set an environment variable. If you want to set environment variable, it's up to you. So After that, right, I just open this. If I just type DuckDB, it should find the executable because it's under your system path. So if you're seeing here, right now we're already within the DuckDB. So in here, you can start writing SQL commands, okay? If you want to exit this one, just Control C, then it comes out. So Control C, okay? And again, just type DuckDB again. I get into the database. And it looks very fast, very simple, but it's very powerful. So in here, you can start writing SQL command. And for example, let's see, I go to this website here, and you can go online, find any SQL statements. So I'm going to find this one, for example, SQL. This one here. But you need to have some data in there first. If you don't have anything, you have no data to query. So you can either create the data, and one thing I can quickly show you like how easy it is. So for example, right now we are here. If you already execute into the database, you cannot clear the output, okay? So if you need to clear the output, Control C, come back out, and then Control L. No, Control S. I forgot what it is. Or CLS. Yeah. On Linux, I use Linux, just Control L, so you can control. So sometimes if it's just too much, then you just CLS, clear the output to clear it, and then I can type DuckDB. Okay. So right now we're inside the DuckDB. So in there you can start writing simple SQL commands. And I'm going to come somewhere, find the DuckDB website just to show you where it is. So for example here, documentation, and then SQL, for example, right? You can start from here, and there are a lot of tutorials in here if you want to. So I can go to maybe, for example, statement overview. You can look at some examples if you want to. So we're going to go through a lot of those. But like I said, all these are SQL statements that you can create the table and you can start doing all kind of stuff. So here, for example, if you want, like, I'm going to copy this one. See this here, copy. And then I can come back to this one here. Then you can just mark anyway and hit enter. It's done. So what this one is doing is create a table named cities. And it's already there. Right now it's just empty table. So think about you in ArcGIS or QGIS, you create an empty shape file and then with 3 columns and nothing in there. But right now it's already in the database. So here, if you just type show tables, okay. Again, so for all the SQL statements, make sure you press put a semicolon at the end. So that means it ends the statement. In Python, you don't have to, right? But in SQL statement, you do, right? If I hit enter, you see the table in there. It's going to show you the name, varchar, basically the name of the table. So right now we only have one table, and there's nothing else. And if you want, I can like describe. You can type describe, CRBE, cities. Describe the table means like you see, I always forget the semicolon. Then you have to type it. Otherwise, you're going to see the greater sign. So you need to type the circle. DS. Oh, okay. It's DSCRB, okay, and then semicolon. You see, I'm gonna basically show you. This is more like the attribute table. Right now it has 3 columns, nothing else. That's it. So we create an empty table. Say it again. Wrong place anyway. Yeah, hit enter. Yeah, it already exists. So if the table already exists, you cannot do it again. We cover more later. For now, just this is the simple way to create an empty table. And I can show you like the other way, how easy it is to like, you can get some data, you can put the data in. So we have a specific chapter about importing the data. So you can get all kind of data inside the database for data import. But for now, I can just simply show you what it looks like. So here I can show you, I select star from DuckDB extensions in SIOS parentheses semicolon. So this one basically shows you, you can see the top line here, shows you some of the extensions available for DuckDB. So this is basically an official extension. kind of think about you use Python, you can install packages. This one basically you have the core database, but you can have some extensions. And you might notice one here is called Spatial. We use that later on. For now, it's just let you know these are some of the things that people be on top that can install. So this one showing you here, right? This is a table. So you can think about like a CSV or Excel spreadsheet that you contain some information. And so for most of the SQL statements, if you're doing the selection, it's going to print out the output. But everything you can actually put into the database. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. So I'm going to press up arrow key to type this one again. And so what you can do is that, okay, I can create a table based on the output and then you can put into the database, right? So actually very simple. You can go to the beginning and you can just say, okay, create table. Again, all the SQL like keywords is case insensitive, but for those like reserved keyword, you usually want to like uppercase or uppercase. And so create table, then you need to give a name of the table. So it's up to you what name you're going to use. This one doesn't matter, but of course you don't want to use the reserved keyword. So the name usually should be lowercase, right? So I can say, okay, I'm going to create a table called extensions. Okay, just a name. It doesn't really matter. And then is, okay, create a table, is something, basically the result. I'm going to put it into the table. And then lastly, you can just put a parenthesis at the end and go to the end here before the semicolon. So think about here, like let's select something that's like the output and basically create table, give a name, age, something, basically grab all the output and then create a table name extension. Okay. And let's run this one. See, it's done. Less than 1 second, like millisecond. And the table, it can be very large table. We talk about more later this course. But for now, you see, it's done. And we can do it again. Show tables. But again, you need a semicolon. It's in here. And if I want, I can describe extensions, the table. A T, okay. Okay. ext is, I'm sorry, it's, I don't know what I'm doing here. Extensions. Okay, so describe is the keyword, and then the name of the table. Right. So this is it. It's already in there, showing the keyword. If you want to see the content of the table, only just from, and then just type the name of the table extensions. See? So basically earlier, the result that we saved right now is inside the table and it's already in the database. So it makes it really easy that you can get data in and out. Make sense? You can also do like select. From extensions is more like, this is specific for DuckDB. By using other database, you'll be like this. Select, similar to what we did earlier. Start from extensions. Okay, and then semicolon. You see that? It's the same thing. Or you can also do like count some simple, like I want to count how many things in the table. Kind of like we do like using Earth Engine, like size, doc size or something. But in here, you'll be like this. You'll be count. So count is a function of SQL. So count star means you count all the rows. It's output you tell you how many rows in there, right? So everything you can select a table, or you can just, okay, I only want like select 2 columns, right? I only want maybe the extension name and also whether it's loaded or not, right? So that means, okay, I just want 1 column, then you'll be select just the name of the column, right? So in here, you'll be, take a look at this one. The top one means the name of the column name. The second row means the data type. Kind of like in the strap file, right? You open, you see the name. You can also either integer, flow, or something like that. So here we can do select extension name and then from extensions from the table. Okay. Again, I forgot the semicolon. You see, and now I select, it only shows you 1 column. So you can basically do selection. You can select by row, you can select by column, you can select by all kind of criteria. So this is how you actually do it using SQL DuckDB database. Questions? Is it easy? Pretty easy, right? There, of course, there are many statements you can remember, but for now, this is what it is. And I would like to point out here, right? If you are using just the command line, when you type the DuckDB, by default, it's creating an in-memory database. So basically, saying everything is temporary. If I close this one, the database is gone. It's no longer exists. So if you really want to like save the database, you need to, when you enter the DuckDB, you need to create the name of the database. So this is what I would like recommend. If you're just trying to explore, like trying to mess up the database, yeah, just type DuckDB. When you close, everything is gone. But if you want to save the stuff, this is what I would do. So I'm going to close this one just to start from scratch. Okay, so open your file explorer and go to a location where you want to save the database. Okay, and for example, I'm going to maybe go to my downloads directory here, right? So I'm going to create a database in here. All you need to do is just right click and then open the terminal. So I'm going to start from here so you can save the database. So open the terminal, okay? And then just pay attention to here. Type DuckDB, but don't hit enter yet, okay? So I'm going to type CLS, okay? DuckDB, and then just give it the name of the DuckDB. Or you can give the full file path. For now, I've just typed maybe, okay, what's that? Paste.db, okay. So the file extension for specific for DuckDB, it can be DuckDB, it can be DuckDB, it can be DDB or something like that. So it doesn't really matter. But usually you can just sort just DuckDB and then something DuckDB. Hit enter. Do you see the file in here? This is the one that just created. So now actually you have the database. So what you can do here is that you can save the things to a database, and then later on you can just copy and paste to somewhere else. Or we can use dbeaver to actually open it if you want to. So now we can do the same thing. So whatever you're doing here, we can actually save the table. So I'm going to do it one more time, right? Create table. Okay, I'm just to do the same thing, extensions, and then is, okay, and then select star from DB extensions, parentheses, and then another parentheses, semicolon. Okay, make sense? So right now, right, when you create an empty table, it's 524 KB, and if I run this one, it's done. It's still not. Usually the data is still in the memory. I think you need to exit it before you save the data to the table. But at least right now I can see, for example, show tables. Okay, just see. Hey, why I have two tables in there? Interesting. Okay. Let me create table extension, and from extensions, yeah, it's there. So let me try again, and I'm going to control C, exit it. Okay, and now you see the database, the file size 780 KB. So that means like there must be some data already in there, right? So right now I'm already exited it. I can do it one more time. I can just type the DuckDB test DB again. Right now I'm getting into the database, right? But I don't need to create the table again. I can just run show tables. You see that? It's already there. So it's already permanent. You don't need to redo again. So I can do the same thing. Extensions. Oops. What happened? ext. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's see the table is in there, right? So this is how you save the data. And always, if you save some data, make sure that you Control C to exit it, and then it's going to push into the database. Otherwise, if you just close it and then you force exit, then sometimes the data might not be saved because it's usually in the memory. It's not saved directly to the database until you exit it. So now this is done, right? The database in here. So this is how you can do that using the command line. And last time we already talked about install the dbeaver, right? So if you already set it up, perfect. If not, you can go to the introduction and then go to the bottom here. Set up VS the dbeaver SQL IDE. So this one is for people that want to see the table, but you don't want to use the command line. You want some like graphical user interface. You can do that as well. So I'm going to go to here and let's just search dbeaver. dbeaver, right? You can open it up. And since we already created a database, we can actually connect to the database. Now we can see the table. And you can also make changes. You can also run SQL statements inside there if you want to. So this is the one. The nice thing about the dbeaver is that it works for DuckDB. Basically, it works for all kind of database. So you can connect to all kind of database, and then you can start seeing things in there. So if you want, you can start doing coding from here. But the downside is that whatever you write in here, you cannot easily share with other people. You can copy the script and then share with other people, it's fine. But also it's difficult to transfer to another computer because you have to save all the files. But what we're going to go through in the next couple lectures is that we can use Jupyter Notebook, right? And you can always share the notebook with anyone. It will just work out of the box. So here, last time I created this test DB, I'm going to just remove it here. Delete, okay. Just make sure that right now it's empty. So this will be something like when you first open it, it'll be like just like this. So now you can go to the database, upper left the menu here, or you can go to this one. There's an icon here. The second row, first one is the same thing. New database connection. And then from here, you can just search DuckDB. DuckDB, like this one, right? Next, click next. And this is where you find the database. So similar to what we did earlier, if you just type DuckDB in the command line program, it's going to create a temporary one. So you can also create a temporary one here if you want to. You'll be like colon memory and then colon again. It's creating a temporary database. It's deleted after you exit it. But in this case, I don't need it. I want the database that I already created. So I'm going to go to open and then go to my C drive downloads. Right, this is the one that we want. Then just click open. So before you next, you probably want to test the connection. Then make sure, because some database has credentials, right? You need to enter the username, password. Then, but for DuckDB, we don't have. So just test connection. It says connected, server, driver, perfect. That means there's no error. And then just click OK, finish. All done. So now on the left side, if you click here, do you see that the DB is too small here? I'm not sure if we can increase the. Yeah, I'm not quite. I don't use this a whole lot, so I'm not quite sure what you can do. But DuckDB and then system temp the test database. So this is basically the database within this the table. And then we go to main table. You see this in here? This is what we created earlier. And if I double click, and then by default, it's going to show you this one exactly just like when I show the table using the command line. But you can look at the data. You see? It's in here. So the same thing like what we did earlier using this one, right? Using either show the table or you show the content. So you can see the properties, you can see the table. Again, I'm doing. By the way, I'm already opening here, so you don't want to make changes to a database like altogether. So basically, whatever you do right now, I can come here. It should be the same. So these two tables just a different name in here, and that's it. So this is what the database is about. You get some data in, you can visualize it, you can make some changes. So here, similarly, you can also create SQL statements in here. I can right click. Not in here. I think somewhere in here table. Oh, here. Create. What is the button? Let me close it first. And SQL editor. Okay. Open SQL script or new one. So I can just create a new one. You see, by default it's just in here. And now we can do the same thing. You can write any SQL statements just like we write that in the terminal. It's the same stuff. So I can just do it here, like select, you see, it's autocomplete. So select start from, and I can access the table. So for example, extensions, right? Lowercase, you see, pretty good, right? Extensions. I think you can just, you don't need the main. You can just do this, and then just Control Enter. See at the bottom, it's executing the command line. Or I can select, for example, just the first column. It'll be extension name and Control Enter. See. So the nice thing about this is it has some auto completion, so that you don't need to remember all the stuff. When you type the keyword, it's going to show you something like that. And similarly, I can do, for example, show tables. You enter. You see. So now we have two tables. Or you can say from extensions and run it. Right. It's pretty responsive, so it's very quick. So these are basically the two ways you can either use. If you want to use the interface, that's fine. It's up to you. But make sure that you save the script, okay? Because this one is installing the file on your system. So sometimes it might not be very clear where are the files being hosted. So you can right click, and then you can, there's a menu here, open folder in Explorer, okay? So if you click here, you're supposed to find out where it's being hosted. So it's actually here. You see under the apps data, roaming, DB data, workspace, general script, like it's hidden somewhere. But this is all the SQL files is a plain text, okay? So you can just open using any text editor if you like. So here, right now is like script 1. So I'm going to show here, you can open it and using maybe notepad, okay? The txt you can open using any IDE. Right, so it's the same like what we see in there. And so in Visual Studio Code later, I'm going to use this one. You can also create a SQL file. But this is more like the general procedure. How you create a database, get some data into the database, see the table in the database, and then do some simple selection. That's it. There are a whole lot more. SQL is like a language that's very powerful. Like if you learn it very well, like there are tons of companies use database. Pretty much every company use database, and it's huge database. So if you learn these statements, it can be transferable to pretty much many other databases, and the workflow is very similar. So this one here, of course, their database like distributed on multiple servers. You can also connect to the database, and like I said, new database. You see the list. I don't know why people invented so many databases. It can be just one, but every database has its pros and cons, right? But if you, the SQL language is being used by all the databases. So this is more like the core, but there might some specific statements that are specific to those databases. But like I said, just learn one, and then DuckDB, you can easily learn other database. The only thing is like installation is different, configuration might be different, and then the deployment might be different. But the central core language, that how you use to query, aggregate, get some result, they're the same statement. Select something from something, create table. It's all the same. Okay, so I'm not going to use this DB fever or whole lot in this course. It's up to you. So you're welcome to explore. Most of the time, we just use the terminal, the command line interface, and also Python. So Visual Studio Code, Jupyter Lab, up to you. Questions?
It doesn't.
Oh yeah. So here is that they are kind of, no. You need to, if you have multiple line. Right now, because I only have one line, it's intelligent. But right here, right, so table. It might be intelligent. I'm not quite sure. That's a good question. So show tables, and let's just select all, Control Enter. You see, you're gonna say blah blah syntax error near the table, show tables. That means, oh, it actually show you the curly red line is there. That means a good thing. So you need to just press semicolon. I think the last one you don't need to. So then Control Enter again. Okay. So you have multiple lines. Make sure you have the semicolon at the end. Otherwise, it's going to, it doesn't know, it's not intelligent enough. They're saying that it's multiple lines. Are we okay? Okay, I'm going to close it. So I'm not going to use it anymore. You're welcome to use it if you want to. But mostly it's for people that just want to see the table graphically. And same thing here. I already exited. You can do whatever you want. So this is basically all the command line interface, and that's it. And again, I'm not going to use this a whole lot in this course. Mostly just Visual Studio Code and Jupyter Notebook because it makes these things more reproducible. So if I write something, I can post it on the website. You guys can just open it in Google Colab and just run from beginning to the end. So there's no this lower the barrier. So let me show you here, right? For example, this is let's go to the second one, SQL basics, right? And go to the upper left corner here, upper right corner, and then just open in Colab, okay? Then you can run through. So this will not be possible using other databases. Other databases, just like the DB Beaver, you need to install things on computer and the files like everywhere is not a single file. This is just notebook is just so much easier for me to teach. So in here, right, the first you need to install the packages. So install the DuckDB. Actually, Visual Studio, Google Colab already has DuckDB installed, so you don't actually have to. But if you want to run DuckDB like the command line, then you need to install the Jupyter SQL. But I can show you here, right? Pip list just to show you, make sure that DuckDB is already there. And you don't need to make sure. I'm just going to show you that it's actually there. It has already been adopted. So if I scroll up here, oops. If you go DB, where is it? DuckDB, yeah. It's not the latest one. So right now it's 0.9.1. So it's a little bit older version, but it works just fine. And similarly, you can find like, for example, Gmap, it's also here. Right? So some of the packages you don't have to install. But specifically for this lecture, because we're using the magic command, so you do need to install the other two in here. Just control slash, and then that's it. I can just say runtime, run all, and let's see what happens. Right? You're going to install all the packages, and then you're just going to do run all the SQL commands. So you can just like use it just like Python, and it should be very, very quick. So once it's created, you see, it might take some time, but hopefully no errors because I think I already tested it. All right, so it's just like similar to what we did with Google Sending. Everything is just executable, and then once it's done, boom, you see, get all the results. So you can just try it out. We're gonna go through those step by step how to utilize that, but at least we want to show you this makes things easier because everyone can just click and then can learn the database. It was not possible in the past because it takes a while to set up and it doesn't support like Google Colab. No other one. You need to connect to the server and something like that. This one, everything is happening in the cloud. You run things directly using the virtual computer in Google Colab. Okay, so every notebook do the same step. If you want to try it out, I always make sure that it works perfectly on local computer or others. So all you need is just open Colab, install the packages, run through it, and then you can try to see if you can understand. If not, copy the SQL statements, paste to ChatGPT, you will understand. We are not doing anything groundbreaking. It's like all the SQL statements have been used like many other people. Except that DuckDB is relatively new. So if you're doing something specific to DuckDB, sometimes it might not give you the best answer. Okay, so that's pretty much it. You can check out the website. So next, I'm gonna switch to Visual Studio Code to show you how to actually to utilize that, right? So I already cloned the entire GitHub repository. So right now, I'm going to do the same thing. So earlier, I showed you how to run that in Google Colab, but right now, I'm actually running that in Visual Studio Code. So all you need to do is just open the notebook and make sure that you run the pip install, similar to what I showed you earlier, right? So if you're running it on a local computer, you can open your terminal and then conda activate your environment and then pip install, or you can just do it in here, control slash, it's the same thing, okay? And then just run it. I believe I already installed, or I can just try again, just to make sure that it works. So, but you make sure that you select the kernel, select the conda environment that you have the DuckDB installed. Okay, otherwise it's not going to work. So here, I think I'm done. You see, it's all installed. Good. And I'm going to just clear the save output here, so there's not too much space. And once you install, then take a look at these steps in here. So if you're trying to use Jupyter Notebook and you want to run the SQL command, SQL command, then you want to have this one here. So this is the percentage sign load ext SQL. That means you want to load the SQL Jupyter SQL extension so that we can run something like this. Otherwise, because this is a Jupyter notebook, it's either Markdown or a code block. A code block is a Python. But if you put the magic command at the beginning, it's going to be treated as SQL statement. Make sense? So basically redirecting the code block for other purposes. So here, this is where kind of right now we're running a notebook, but think about if you're using the command line program, it's doing the same thing. You basically type DuckDB and then you start writing the command. But in here, we import the DuckDB. We are also going to use the pandas data frame. And also there are a couple in here. So I would recommend if you're running that using Jupyter Notebook, just like copy this, and then you are good to go. So this one means that auto pandas means if the output, you can format the output is a pandas data table. And the feedback, we change it to false means it doesn't show you all the process. Otherwise, your output will be overwhelming. Let me show you. Maybe let me restart the kernel so that you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just run this one here, and right now, let me restart. So that this one is not executed yet. Here, create output. Let me run this one. If I don't run this one yet, okay. So you will see the differences if you don't have this. So if you see the percentage sign at the beginning, that means it's a magic command. So that means is you're telling the code block to do something else rather than writing Python. So in here, right now SQL. So there are two ways you can write the SQL statement. I'm going to show you in here. You can either use a single percentage sign or use double. Double means that you have multiple lines you want to run in that code block. So if you only have a simple line, then you use percentage SQL, and then you can follow all the SQL statements like in here. So right now, if I run this one, you see connected to DuckDB memory. So 3 / and then colon memory, or you can just SQL DuckDB. Okay, you don't even need to type anything. This is similar to when you are using a command line. So whatever you're doing in the command line, you can do the same thing in here, except you have to put the percentage sign SQL at the beginning, and then everything else is the same. So essentially, you are running the SQL statements in here, and run this one, and then I can just run this one again. See the same thing? I think earlier because I already executed, so it's showing a table. But if you didn't execute this code block, it will probably not as a table, I believe. Let me run this again. Just run this one. And then connect to the DuckDB. And then run this code block. Oh, it's still as DuckDB. Okay. That's probably efficient. But yeah, so you see this one here running query in DuckDB. So if I run the code block, I believe it will not show you anymore. So I can run this one. Let me again restart the kernel. Make sure it's clear. So my recommendation would be whenever I start doing this in if you're using the command line and then you want to use a Jupyter notebook, just copy these 2 code blocks and it will make your life easier. So then run this one. You see, it doesn't show me that connected to DuckDB anymore. And if I run this one again, you see, it's just showing the output. So it doesn't show you all the text stuff. And if you remember here, right? You know this line now, right? It's the same one that we do earlier in the terminal. So anything you write in the terminal, you can right now run it in the code block, except that you need to put the percentage sign SQL or double percentage sign. So either one is fine. If you have multiple lines, I would recommend just put double. But if you want, I can do it in here. Move this one up, and then just put one percentage sign. It should be the same, right? So you are putting, so the percentage SQL is the so-called magic command provided by the Jupyter SQL package, allows you to use a code block as a SQL execution. Make sense? Or you can use any command line. So in here, If you want to use Mamba, yes. So Mamba will be just the percentage sign Mamba something. So the percentage sign can follow by any system command. So in here I can do this one. Create new code block and I can just like percentage sign Mamba uh, install something, and then I can run it if we want to. Oh, not Mamba, maybe the exclamation. Yeah, exclamation. You can run the exclamation to run system command if you want to. I'm going to skip this one. But the percentage sign SQL here is specifically for so-called magic command. They allow you to run stuff. Right? So now we have this. And so next, I'm gonna... Yes?
Difference in the
Oh, the Python DuckDB is the conduct, so it's the same. The name is different.
okay.
So basically, you can think about it's on like Apple Store and also the Android Play Store. They're supposed to be the same name, but basically they have previously have two versions, DuckDB and Python DuckDB, and eventually decided to use the Python DuckDB. So, but it's the same package, but it's just a different name on different channel.
It doesn't matter.
No, you need to like if you use conda, you need to conda install Python-DuckDB. If you use pip, you need to pip install DuckDB. Just the name is different. Yeah. So let me run it one more time, okay? And then I can quickly go through how to run those codes. So again, I don't need to install again. Just run this code block and run this one. And then you can start writing all the command statements just like what we did earlier. But make sure that after you create import, make sure you type the DuckDB so that it gets into the DuckDB database. So in here, you can just SQL DuckDB, that's fine. Or you can have the memory, be more specific. I think you can do this. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. So the simple one is DuckDB. But if you want to select, create a database, like the one we did earlier, right? You want to choose the name in here. So we can do the same thing. I can comment this one out. And then I can comment this one. So now I can say DuckDB. And then, so the file path, I can just simply say here, like, paste.duckdb. And then it's going to save to the current working directory. So right now I have nothing in here. If I run it, you should be able to see paste.db, right? Create a new one. So right now, everything I'm doing here, you'll be saved to this database. So now, next step, I'm showing here, right? I can run the SQL command, like show the extension. I can also install extensions. So earlier, I showed you, right? Extensions, there are a couple like official supported extensions. So HTTPS, this is one of those. So HTTPS allows you to read data directly from URL so that you don't have to have the data on your computer. So you can read anything from the internet. And how you install the package is like this. Install, and then the name of the extension, and then load extensions. Kind of like you are using Python. You pip install Gmap, and then you import Gmap. It's the same idea, but this is for SQL statement. And again, you can do that also in the command line interface. It's up to you. So I'm going to run this one. It should be pretty quick. So basically, you see it's success. That means right now we have this loaded. And take a look at this. So the same idea, compared to earlier, we select something from a local file or a function, but right now I'm reading this file from the internet. And if you run it, see the table? It's pulling the data and then save this one as the database. But this, keep in mind here, select something from something. You're only showing the result. We haven't created a table yet. Okay, so right now we are simply pulling DuckDB to pull the data, a CSV from the internet, and then show me the result. And everything once it's pulled, it becomes a table. And the table you can manipulate with the table. But if you select something, it's just showing you the result. Same thing here. So I have two sample files. The one is just the city with the name of the city, the country, latitude, longitude, population, and the other one is the country. So I do the same thing, select something from something else, right? So I also have another two table. So now we actually getting some data from somewhere, and then you can create table just like in here. What we did earlier, create table. So I'm going to create the table name as cities, and then as select from something else. If you feel it's like very like weird, why is writing like this, you can put the parentheses. So this might make it easier for you to understand. So select something from something, right? Select, I get all the data from that table, and this is data. Now I'm going to create the table and then filling the data into the table. So create table, the name is, and after that you can grab whatever you want into the table. Okay, so I'm going to run this one. So here I'm basically creating a table called cities, and now you should have the cities table in the database. Do the same thing. I can create a table named countries into the table. Okay, done. Pretty much now we have this data fit into the data table, and then I can just from cities. Okay, so this command is specific to DuckDB. For other database, you need to select star from the table name, but for DuckDB is like a shortcut. So if you run this one, see, so now at the table, I don't need to. It's different from earlier, like from star, select star from the URL. Pay attention to the differences, right? This is we're reading the data directly from the URL. But since we already created a table, we already fill the table with the data. So now I can just select. So this because we have the table, this table already in the database. So now I'm actually pulling data from database, not from the internet anymore. So the contents are the same. So from cities, like from countries, right? Or you can say select star. It's the same. Okay. So you want to see the content of the table. This is what you can do. You can also, if you want to limit it, like I can say select from cities, limit, for example, 5. Kind of like in pandas data frame, you like dot head and then parentheses, something like this. Make sense? So now we are having the stuff, the things in the database, and control S like this. So once you're right now assume that okay, I'm already done dealing with the table, so I can clear all the output, restart, and then it's gone. So the data table is already there. You should already have some content, and the database is not a TXT file that you can open easily. It's if you go to my directory book, and then DuckDB, you should be able to see this one here. I'm not sure if you have things in there or not. Probably I need to close it. It was closed in property. So also you can do it in here, terminal. Okay, I can show you. You can open the VS Code terminal. You can also utilize the database from here. Okay, so I'm going to run this one, and then I can do conda activate geo. Okay, so my conda environment is within this conda geo, and you can run the same thing, DuckDB. Okay, because the DuckDB database is under this directory in here. So I'm going to type, you need to enter into the path. So book, and then DuckDB, and then paste DuckDB. You see? So this is, you don't need to have use the terminal. You can just use from now on. So if you need run the notebook, you run the notebook. If you want to just use the command line, you can use the VS Code terminal. And now from here, I can say show tables. You see the tables in there? Cities, countries. Yes. And you can run the same thing from cities. The table. The same thing like what we did earlier using the Jupyter notebook. Except that if you're doing the Jupyter notebook, you need to put the percentage sign SQL, something like this. And also from countries. Oops. C-O-N. Oh, T-R-I-E-S. Okay. T-R-I-E-S. You see? And you can do all kind of stuff. So either way is fine. It's up to you. Once the database is created, the data is in there. You can use the terminal to access the database. You can use a Jupyter notebook. But still, we are right now using the command line. And so on Friday, I want to continue utilizing the second one. And next week, we'll start covering how to use Python. In that way, you don't need to use the terminal. Okay, so we're out of time. That's all for today. I will see you on Friday. Make sure you practice, okay? The more you practice, the easier it becomes.